Okay, good morning, everyone. What we're delaying on is that we are broadcasting via the web live using YouTube Live. And I'm watching over here just to make sure that we've got an actual signal. We have broadcasting out to our district headquarters in Greater Minnesota. So, hey, saved a chair for you.
Thank you.
See, you're not alone. Are we good? I'm not showing there. There we go. We're good. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Gutnick. I'm MnDOT's Communications Director. And even though we know that snow is predicted and heavy snow, we have it on good authority that at some time in the very near future we're going to be able to begin a lot of road construction projects. And that said, I want you all to know that we are fully prepared for whatever Mother Nature may bring today and in the future when it comes to snow and ice. When we get to the end and we ask questions, if you could not ask snow and ice questions, we will be happy to deal with those later on. We are, as I said earlier, broadcasting live to our MnDOT district headquarters, and there are media, regional media out there, and as well as MnDOT personnel to talk about projects. This morning we're going to hear from MnDOT Commissioner Charlie Zelli, our Deputy Commissioner and Chief Engineer Sue Mulvihill, Lieutenant Eric Roski from the State Patrol, and Tom O'Keefe, who's the Program Delivery Manager from the Metro, and that's the order in which they will speak. Now, when Lieutenant Roski is finished, the Greater Minnesota districts are going to cut away, and Tom O'Keefe is going to come up and talk about the Metro area projects for this year. I would appreciate it if you could hold your questions until the end. In Greater Minnesota, if you have questions for any of the first three speakers, please send them to Rich Kemp, and we will get you answers within the hour. And again, if you would, please, in your questions, keep them to about the construction kickoff. We will deal with snow and ice later today. Thank you. Commissioner?
Thank you, Kevin, and welcome, everyone, to MnDOT, and I appreciate your being here today. It may seem like winter is still with us, but we're thrilled to actually announce a robust construction program and transportation projects for this year. I will say at the outset that the work we're talking about today is very much in line with Governor Dayton's commitment to state government supporting citizens, the environment, and the economy. And in fact, this is an amazingly robust construction program this year. We expect it to offer smoother, safer, more reliable highways and bridges throughout the state. We are announcing as many as 308 construction projects valued at over $1.1 billion. That's very close to last year. I always kind of refer to that as being like building a Viking stadium all in one construction season. These projects are important to Minnesota in a number of ways. One, of course, is that it represents thousands of jobs for Minnesotans. And also, and maybe even more importantly, it's really essential for maintaining and improving the transportation infrastructure that's critical for Minnesotans' quality of life and our economy. So you'll kind of notice, and perhaps you have noticed, that we have a pothole issue throughout the state. That really represents both a short-term issue. We will be working with our local partners, municipalities and counties, as well as our state system to repair them. But also, it really indicates that the underlying condition of our infrastructure needs a long-term solution. As you know, an important work that we're actually starting this year is our Corridors of Commerce program. That's indicated in the green lines on the large map. This is a $300 million program funded with bonding that was authorized at the last year's legislature, and although we've begun work on 10 projects, 5 of them will actually start construction after July 1st. They are in actual commerce corridors where freight and freight traffic will be allowed to move more smoothly through added lanes and kind of added mobility projects. Again, the key there is to show that freight traffic can move more smoothly, safely, and reliably. We've often kind of referred to the Corridors of Commerce program as a down payment to show what MnDOT can and will do with additional funding to help enhance and solve bottleneck congestion places throughout the state. You know, it's also really important, and I've spent some time talking about how we do our projects efficiently. We are watching every dollar, and we will continue to do that throughout this construction season, finding ways that we can enhance both our financial efficiency and also the effectiveness of everything we do, even on a day-to-day basis. So you want to, you'll probably see in the press packets that when I talk about this robust program, we expect to have maybe a similar size next year, but then in future years, the funding constraints really constrain the level of investment in transportation as we get out 2, 3, 4 years. No question, this is inadequate funding for what is required to continue to improve and maintain our transportation system. I spent better part of the fall and part of the summer visiting many communities around the state, dozens of meetings with citizens, business owners, manufacturing facilities, chambers of commerce, local politicians. You know what? It seems pretty unanimous that everybody agrees how important the infrastructure is to their quality of life and to their local economies. It seems everybody I meet agrees that we need to have an understanding and a way to look at long-term sustainable transportation funding. This year, the projects are going to help maintain our system and actually advance it in ways that we expect citizens, although slightly disrupted in work zones, will really appreciate the kind of progress that we should continue to make on our transportation system. When we talk about long-term funding needs, we will continue to have conversations perhaps throughout the summer, and we're hoping in the legislative sessions in the future, we really need to find a solution to keep the kind of progress that we're going to show what we're doing this summer going in future years. And finally, I want to mention just as work zones, we're going to hear more about this in a moment, we ask that drivers really take care in driving through work zones. They're really dangerous places, both for drivers and for construction workers. We know that our construction workers deserve a safe work environment, and we'll hear more about that. But I want to point that safety is MnDOT's highest priority. Now, I'd like to introduce our Deputy Commissioner and Chief Engineer, Sue Mulvihill. Sue?
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. I'm Sue Mulvihill. I'm in charge of the Engineering Services Division here, the Modal Planning Division and Program Management area, and the Engineering and the Operations Division, which is actually the largest group of people at MnDOT, and they're the folks who deliver construction projects and maintenance work across our state every day for all of you. In general, when we talk about construction projects, there are a number of criteria that are involved in selecting projects. We look at potholes, the number of potholes, what condition is the pavement in, how old is the bridge, what condition is the bridge in. So we really look at what is the condition of the infrastructure or the asset that we're looking to replace or repair. We look at traffic. How much traffic is there? How many heavy commercial motor vehicles or trucks use that facility every day? And what is the impact of those vehicles on that part of the system? We look at safety issues. Are there a lot of crashes? Are there kinds of crashes that we can fix or eliminate with a particular kind of repair or a different change in traffic control along the highway or the bridge. We also look at how long it's been since the last time we did some sort of work on that section of pavement or on that bridge or on that path or whatever it should be, so that we can make sure that we're being as effective and efficient as we can be with our funding, and that we can put investments in those infrastructure pieces when it's needed and at the right time, so that we can extend the life cycle of all the assets that we own. MnDOT owns it does own 80% of the assets of the state. A lot of that is the roadway system and the bridges and paths and traffic signals, all those things. And so we're really concerned about making sure that we're putting the right investments in at the right time. We don't select projects by ourselves here at the Department of Transportation. We actually listen to stakeholders and customers, cities and counties, local agencies. We work with our metropolitan planning organizations to identify projects and priorities in their regions or in their areas. We work with our area transportation partnerships that exist across the state of Minnesota to help us identify what are the issues in their region, what are the things that are important to them, and how do we tie all those things together with the actual physical attributes that I talked about previously to help select pavement or bridge or any kind of transportation projects. In the metro area, that's the Metropolitan Council. We work closely with them to identify different kinds of projects. And in addition, I will say that at MnDOT, there's many people whose job it is to keep track of the infrastructure, of the assets, and make sure that we know what condition it's in, how many crashes we're having, what kinds they are, and so that we have a pretty good idea starting out when we work with our partners where the actual issues are on our transportation system, so we can address them in a timely fashion and at the right time. Project cost is a big item. The commissioner mentioned $1.1 billion of construction projects. That is only the cost of the construction itself. There's many other pieces that go into delivering and developing construction projects in our system across our state. And some of those things are pre-design and scoping. We have to know what the project's going to be before we can figure out what we should do and how we should do it and how much it's going to cost. There's design costs for people to put a plan together so that our construction folks can help contractors deliver a project in the field. There's mitigation measures that we take, environmental issues, historical properties, those kinds of things that we need to deal with as parts of projects. And then also there could be right-of-way with different projects. We may need to purchase some property or a business or a house. We try to avoid those if we can, but if we have to purchase them, they are part of the process and part of the cost. Today, again, I'm going to remind you that we're only talking about the construction costs, so these are not total project costs for our projects. I'm going to also state that besides construction and besides the contractors that are out there and our construction personnel, there's lots of maintenance people out doing maintenance, repairs, and work on our system. They're out every day, and they work day and night. We have night crews here in the metro area to do guardrail and pavement repairs, and so I would urge all of you to watch out for them as well as the regular work zones, because maintenance can be a quick-moving operation that just gets out there, and they're out there for an hour or two and they're done. But they are important, and they really help keep our system together, so keep watching for them. Now, just a little note about safety. The commissioner mentioned safety. It is our primary concern here at MnDOT. It's one of the reasons that we exist. I think it's one of the reasons State Patrol does a lot of their work and exists. We are a toward zero death state. Zero is a mighty aggressive number, but if somebody asks me how many people is it okay for your family to have killed on a roadway, it's not one or two, it's zero. So zero might be aggressive, but it's the only number that we want. And so we work pretty hard with our enforcement friends and our education people and our emergency medical services and our engineering to actually try and get towards zero deaths in the state of Minnesota on all our roadways, including local agency roads. We want to operate a safe system. We do a lot of things to make sure that that happens. We provide all the safety appurtenances that you can have: cable median barrier, guardrail, rumble strips, striping, passing lanes. All those things are designed to help motorists navigate the roadway system and the transportation system safely. The one thing that we really can't engineer, though, is how people drive and how the motorist pays attention to what's going on around them on the roadway. So we are really encouraging folks to pay attention while you're driving this summer. Pay attention especially in work zones and around those maintenance vehicles. We want all of our contractors and our maintenance folks and our construction folks and our enforcement people to go home every day nice and safe and sound. So please pay attention and please drive safely. And I'll have Lieutenant Roski come up and give you a little bit more.
Thank you, Commissioner Sue. I'm Eric Roski with the Minnesota State Patrol, and while we're here to talk about our partnership with MnDOT to improve our roads and keep people safe, our message from as a state troopers is very simple. This summer, as you travel through the state, especially through these construction zones, take driving seriously. Summer is the time when memories are made, family trips, enjoying the great state of Minnesota in its most pleasant environment, but you need to get to your destination safely and get home safely for those memories to live on. A couple tips that we have for motorists as they head out. Number one, plan ahead. Check your routes, look for construction zones, be aware of them, plan ahead for delays, and most importantly, when you're in the construction zones, to be patient. We see most of the issues we have due to people following too close, not paying attention, and being complacent in construction zones. These improvements are made to our roads to make them more safe, so they can travel more safely. But to allow that to happen, we need to have space for the workers to do their work in a safe environment. When our enforcement people, troopers, other law enforcement are out in those zones, making sure those areas are kept safe. It's not our goal is not to catch people doing something wrong. It's to remind them that there may be reduced speeds, there may be lane restrictions, and we want them to travel through those zones safely. To do that, we encourage motorists to follow any reduced speeds as advised, increase following distances, expect slowdowns, and be prepared for delays and alternate routes if necessary. So again, just to summarize, if you do nothing else when you're traveling this summer, take driving seriously, pay attention to what's happening on the roads, and just be patient and plan ahead for the possible impacts of these programs, because they are critically important to keep our roadways in good shape, and the long-term benefits are much greater than the short inconvenience you may experience. So I'll now turn this over to Tom O'Keefe, who will go over the metro area projects. Tom.
Thank you, Lieutenant, and good morning. Thank you for being here. Especially thank you for your role in getting the word out about our construction projects. It's very important that we do get that word out. Our market research shows us that drivers who have clear expectations of what they're going to see on our roads and in our construction zones are less stressed when they come upon delays. I think many of us know that we make less unsafe decisions if we're not stressed about being delayed or being late to an appointment. So thanks for your work in encouraging folks to use our website, 511, our email services, and our tweets to stay informed about what they're going to find on the roadways. To help, in other ways, we help drivers have clear expectations about what's ahead. We use the drive time signs that you see on some of our major projects. They'll show how many minutes to the next major freeway or how many minutes they would be driving on alternate routes. And so we get very good feedback about those signs. Also, based on public feedback, we're increasing the size of our signs with construction information and durations and closures. We're also working on our detouring signing to help people with their expectations. We also work to avoid impacts with our construction projects. One of the things we do a lot in Metro is do our construction work, much of our work, overnight and on weekends. When we do our work overnight and on weekends, instead of having one opening at the end of a project, one deadline for opening, we have a deadline every morning at 5 a.m. Things happen in construction. Equipment breaks down, people get sick or injured. Sometimes we find things below the surface that we don't expect, and those can cause delays. Luckily, and due in part to careful planning, those late openings are at a minimum, but we urge people to be patient with us when those rare late openings do occur. We also work to avoid and minimize reduced traffic impacts of our construction. We do things like temporary widening. We have accelerated construction techniques. We have incentives and disincentives for contractors to speed up their work and to reduce the delay of that motorists experience because of our projects. To figure out, we have modeling tools with which we estimate the delay that motorists will spend, and we have standard costs we apply to the value of time and to vehicle operating costs. With that, we set budgets for project, how much we can spend on temporary widening or what our incentives and disincentives should be. Those have been very effective for us over the year in tightening our schedules and avoiding user delay. I'll talk a little bit about some of our bigger projects. I'm going to start with 35E, just north of where we're sitting now. We've actually got two projects there. One is the Cayuga project, which is between downtown and Maryland Avenue. That work started last year. Most of that work was offline, so it had minimal traffic impacts. This year, we're going to get closer to the traveled lanes, but we're still able to keep 3 lanes in each direction open throughout construction, minus some off-peak closures. North of Maryland, between Maryland Avenue and Little Canada Road, we have what we call a MnPass project. I want to highlight a couple things with this project. This project will build the 4th lane in that segment as a MnPass lane, which is open to high occupancy vehicles, buses, and people who pay a toll. This project, it's an efficiency that we've been doing more of over the last 15 or to 20 years. It's called a thick concrete overlay. We'll sometimes refer to as an unbonded overlay. What this does is place 8 to 12 inches of concrete over the existing road surface. It performs as good or even better than a fully reconstructed roll at about half the cost. So this has been a very cost-effective fix for us that we've begun to use in the metro area and outstate. Also on this project, we're using one of these acceleration techniques that we've talked about over the last few years. Last year, we talked about Maryland Avenue and the self-propelled bridge mover, which we also used at Hastings. This year for the Larpenteur Avenue Bridge over 35E, our contractor there, Ames Construction, proposed to use a slide-in technique. With this technique, they demolish the old bridge, start working on the foundations, the piers and the abutments, and then directly adjacent to that, they work on the beams and the deck. And then when both are finished at approximately the same time, they slide in the deck and beams onto the foundation and piers, and that way, cutting about half the time off of construction. Even with these efforts, this is going to be a tough project for motorists. We'll have 120 days of 2 lanes in each direction between Maryland and 36. Additionally, many of the ramps and loops at 36 will be closed for this same period of time. We'll talk about some other projects. Highway 52, Lafayette Bridge over the Mississippi River in downtown St. Paul continues. Completion is planned for 2015. St. Croix Bridge project is fully underway. Completion there is planned for 2016. On the west side of Metro, we start construction of Highway 100 in St. Louis Park. When complete, this project will complete the 6-lane section and improve the merging operations from the local roadways. This project will start in August. We'll have a weekend shutdown in September, and then 6 weeks of 2 lanes in each direction. So that'll be a very big traffic impact. That's a very busy freeway, as we all know. We have a project on Highway 65 or Central Avenue in Minneapolis, north of downtown, just north of Broadway. We're placing the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad Bridge over Central Avenue. That's also a big traffic impact. That'll have closures from mid-May until this fall. So Central Avenue will be fully closed over that time period. Later this year, in one of the Corridors of Commerce projects, we start the construction of Highway 610. That'll complete its connection to I-94 up in Maple Grove. That'll have a 2016 completion. And then the last project I want to talk about is a project that we're not certain it's going to go this year or next year. And this is the Highway 5 or West 7th Street Bridge over the Mississippi River near Fort Snelling. I expect we'll have that decision made in the next week or two, so I encourage folks to stay tuned. That'll be a big impact. We'll have one lane in each direction for each of 2 construction seasons, so that's a big impact. Last thing I want to note is this year, as we have a lot of partnership projects with local agencies where we replace a signalized intersection with an interchange. Those are great benefits for safety and for reducing delay and congestion. We're finishing up 10 and 96 this year in Arden Hills. We have 101 and 144 in Rogers. We're finishing up Highway 7 in Louisiana. We've got 169 and 69 down in the Shakopee area. Those are great partnerships, and we're accomplishing a lot for drivers in those areas with those projects. Lastly, I want to mention that we've got the Metro District resident engineers. These are our people who manage construction in the field at the back of the room, as well as the PACs who can talk about the different ways we're trying to communicate with the public to improve the safety of our work zones. So thank you for being here, and thanks for helping to get the word out. I think we're taking questions now.
Any questions?
Can you describe that slide-in technique a little bit more again?
Sure. So we demolish the bridge in place. We basically drive the pile, build the foundation in the same place as the previously existing bridge. And then directly alongside that, we build the beams that carry the deck and the deck itself. And we have some hydraulic jacks that push that deck and beams on some specially built sliding pads on top of to the newly constructed foundations, piers, and abutments.
Can you talk a little bit about the Corridors of Commerce project? What will we see realized this year?
This year on the Corridors of Commerce project on 610, we won't see very much but clearing and grubbing activities. You know, it's a totally new alignment, so there's only some local roads out there. We let that project open bids in August, and it's a design build project, so they have a design effort before they start in earnest with construction there.
Talked to numerous truckers, and they're eager to see that materialize.
Good, yeah, we are too.
I have a question about the Diamond interchange, Highway 101 and County 144 in Rogers.
Right.
I read your press release and it explained how it improves traffic flow, but I was still a little confused about what that special interchange actually does.
Okay, I don't have some of the specifics on that. I think it's a diverging diamond.
Yeah, I was just
Okay.
getting a picture in my head of how the traffic moves.
And I can only give you a picture with my hand. So, yeah, usually, you know, you stay in the roadways that you're on, you know, maybe like this as you cross through an interchange on the local road. And with a diverging diamond, you actually switch roadways. So let's say on that roadway, if you're heading north on 144, you'd be heading west on 144. Usually you'd be to the right of the eastbound lanes. And so this will put you on the left-hand side of the eastbound lanes through the interchange area. And what that does is it makes the left turns, which is the highest volume at that interchange. You don't have to cross that opposing set of lanes of traffic for the eastbound traffic. So it's a more efficient operation in interchanges with very high volumes of left turns.
Where is one right now? The Rogers one.
There's one in Rice. I don't know if that one's quite. Oh, 34.
On
Yep.
the MnDOT website, we've got a couple of web pages that talk about the diverging diamond. It shows how it works. There's graphics and everything.
Okay, cool, thanks.
There's many around the country. So somebody said 34th Avenue and 494, just south of the Humphrey Terminal. We've got one in Rice on Highway 15 and.
St. Cloud, Highway 15 is at County Road 1.
Oh, that's right.
Just
Yep.
north of our district office up there. That's been open for about 6 or 8 months, I think.
Okay, Sartell, I think.
Sartell,
Yeah. So I think those are the only two. Missouri's got a number of them. I know Utah, I believe.
Yeah, other states.
Do you plan to do more of those?
It appears to be a very good tool. And one of the big advantages is we can build it with a narrower bridge because you don't have the left turn lane need. You don't need to separate the left turns from the through traffic, and so that helps with the initial cost, and it helps to for the long-term maintenance because there's less bridge deck to maintain. I'm getting some direction to repeat questions.
You mentioned there were 308 projects for the year. I'm assuming there were several more that you looked at but couldn't get to for funding reasons. Does anyone have an idea of how many are still out there to be looked at in the future?
I'll repeat the question and then look to somebody else to answer. So the question is, it was announced we have 308 projects this year, and it assumed there's more waiting to be done.
Was there a list and then you looked over them and the list was longer, or? I'll take a crack at that.
There's the 20-year list, there's the...
Yeah, we have a lot of different projects and different needs listed in every district across the state. So here in the metro, for example, they can have a real long list of traffic signals, pavement jobs, bridge repairs. And when we talk about how we prioritize them, we use the traffic volumes, the crashes, the condition of the infrastructure like I talked about before. So in answer to your question, we prioritize all the projects also, and then we figure out how many of those are going to fit within our funding time frame for that particular construction season, and then also how they will work out across the metro and who we have available to deliver them. So that's why we have a 4-year STIP, State Transportation Improvement Program. So we have projects this year, we have projects next year, for 4 years out.
Do you feel a lot of it had to be redirected because of the weird weather this winter? Did it kind of change your focus, maybe more pothole stuff?
You know what? At this late time when we're talking about actually starting construction, they're moving forward. If there are places where the pavement is so deteriorated because of potholes or whatever, we will figure out a way to work those into our program too. It may be an emergency repair. It may be some kind of a small mill and overlay that'll just carry us until a time when that project could be done in a more effective or long-term fashion. Yes. These projects have been in the works probably at least 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm.
Does the weather increase costs, though? I mean, does it cost more to get the materials or labor out there?
Yes, it can, because it can delay the start of construction projects. But normally when we start construction in the summertime or the early spring like this, well, the last 2 years we've had snow in April and May. So those are not usually what happens. The weather can delay us. It can cause us a little bit of extra time, and I know our construction folks work with our contractors to try to make up that time during the summer if they can, so that we can stay on schedule.
How would you compare this to give people a sense of context? I mean, is this pretty much an average construction year for what they're going to see on the roads?
I would say yes, actually. What do you think?
It's our second biggest ever, and the top 3 are kind of set higher than the rest. So it'll be a very busy season.
Yeah. Yeah, over my 30 years of working at MnDOT, construction has gradually increased every year. And a lot of that has to do with the additional funding we get, either corridors of commerce or federal funding that comes available to Minnesota that we use. But also our pavements, our infrastructure is aging, and so you will probably see more projects that are really designed to improve the condition of our assets and to make sure that we can continue to maintain the 80% of the state's assets that we own in good shape and good repair, because it's not cheap to own this. And you want to make sure that your siding and your roof is good on your house before you buy new furniture. So
This is, like in the metro, where it's the second largest year, is that more wear and tear than new projects?
yes.
Yep.
The condition of the infrastructure, the age of the infrastructure, and pavement projects, it is new pavement when you get done, whether you reconstruct it or you mill and overlay it. It's new pavement. It looks great to people. It's nice and smooth. But a lot of it is to help maintain the life cycle of our assets and our pavements and bridges, drainage systems, all of those things.
Were any of these projects moved up, being that we might have a funding issue a few years down the road, to make sure that they get done, as opposed to other ones?
I don't recall any, no. No, this is kind of our normal construction program, the things that have been in the hopper for 3-4 years to get them into the program, figure out, and then do the pre-design, the scoping, the design work that's necessary to put a plan together so we can give it to our construction resident engineers and have them help us deliver it.
I have a question about your project, along 35W Johnson Street in Minneapolis. It talks about replacing the anti-icing system. I'm just a little curious about, how often does it need to be replaced? How old is it? Is it pretty common that it needs to get replaced on a regular basis?
This is the first one that I'm aware of that we are replacing. I certainly can't remember another one.
I can speak to that a little
Okay.
bit. That 35W anti-icing system is something that was a movable system, and it was actually temporary, and that was probably 6 or 8 years ago when I was in the maintenance in the Metro District. And we tried it there because it's on that curve and it's kind of on a hill and it gets kind of slippery, and so because it was temporary and not necessarily permanent, we moved it around a little bit. Now it's time to replace it because it does work in that location. It can get icy.
How does it work?
Well, I think, if I recall correctly, that it's along the barrier, edge of the barrier, and then it sprays out horizontally onto the pavement, and then it kind of runs across the pavement because of just natural drainage of how it would work. But that's how it worked originally. Now, if they've changed it in the last few years, it could be different, but I'm pretty sure that's still how it operates, and we'd be replacing it because it's effective and it's a good use of taxpayer dollars to have it there. And it improves safety. I'm sorry.
Is that pretty typical life cycle? Do you think the other ones that are out there, like on the new bridge, will need to be replaced, 6 to 8 years? Is that a good lifespan?
Those systems are built to last a real long time. And we flush them out, we clean them out, we inspect them and maintain them regularly. The pieces that need to be maintained or replaced more often are the discs that are in the pavement because they get kind of worn out from traffic going over them. But for the most part, we build those to last a real long time, and I don't think we've replaced one in a bridge structure yet. So we just try to make sure we maintain them, have a good life cycle on them.
When can we start seeing the first barrels and cones up?
I don't know. Pretty soon, I think.
They are in place. The work's going on 35E north of downtown. Lafayette, St. Croix. So it's there, and as soon as the weather allows. After tomorrow, yeah. You shouldn't see any new tomorrow. Any other questions?
Very good. All right, thank you all.
Sure.